videos at the same time. A big welcome to everybody that's watching. It's coming up to 4:20. In the background, the famous clock that used to exist before the earthquake on our post office building. We can't even see that it's 4:20, but I just want to point out that today was to be a day of protest. Hasn't everybody been good? No one came. Perfect. It's 4:20, celebration all around the world. Cannabis Liberation Day today, May the 2nd, J-Day. Here in Christchurch, we used to have gatherings here, 700 odd people, all smoking up on the joints that had been thrown out. So while it is a day of protest all around the world, we should be considering that we've got a referendum coming up in September. And while there's nobody talking about it much, we've just had the rules released, the rules that say what we'll be voting for. There's some serious questions need to be asked, and nobody's really asking them. So if R20 is the cannabis law reform age, what happens to anybody that's caught smoking at 18? They have to go for treatment. They have to go to an agency and be assessed. Then that's not going to ride very well. You can't smoke out in public, but we've been smoking out in public since, well, the J-Day started 25 years ago. We've got a problem because we're not actually recognising that this legislation gives alcohol a free ride, totally contrary to the all drug policy that we advocated and researched from 1996, the beginning of MMP, the Cannabis Party started. We'd been advocating for serious change in their drug policy. But what we got for anybody aged R20 is blanket prohibition, such that anybody who supplies pot to anybody under 20 can go to jail for up to 4 years, and if you're a business, you're screwed. So we've got some serious issues around giving free rein to people to drink alcohol from the age of 18, but this dichotomy in the law that says R20. By giving license to the alcohol industry to continue to brand and merchandise their product in the face of everybody, but making legislation around cannabis, you can't even have a sign with a pot leaf outside your building. You can't actually symbolise what you're doing. You can't advertise on the internet, you can't sell on the internet, you can't put a brand on your product, and so nobody's going to know what they're getting other than a little list on the back of a label on perhaps a jar. But when we talk about how much you'll be able to carry in person and how much you might grow, these are progressive steps, and we should be fostering those kinds of conversations. Because if we're good at growing, it's much healthier. And if we're good at growing, there might be enough to hand out to your friends or something like that. But just remember that if we were looking at the amount of pot that you're allowed to carry, it's about the weight of half a small apple. If we were holding a small apple in our hand and it was cut in half, that would be about how much pot you're allowed to carry in person, about 14 grams. It's said by the politicians that's enough for 40 joints, but I don't know who his friends are. I'd advise him to get better friends. Smoking joints 40 to half an ounce, that's bloody ridiculous. However, we're going to have to support this legislation, and that's the irony. Of course, anybody who's aged 18 and eligible to vote and is not yet 20 has got nothing to vote for. I'm not sure how they're expecting the turnout in the youth demographic to be when there's nothing in it for them. But furthermore, those people that are probably going to vote in the hordes are those people over 65 who traditionally always vote, and the highest growth market in cannabis consumption in those states that have legally regulated, both medicinally or recreationally, have a high growth in the over 65s. So if you're over 65 like me, you'll be able to grow 2 plants yourself, 2 plants for your partner. That means 4. And if you're really good at growing them, you could fill an entire glass house. There will be no shortage, I can assure you. So the rules are worth supporting. We may not even have to buy any. I don't know where they're going to make the tax, of course, when everybody's not buying it. So free exchange, apparently, amongst friends may well be permitted, but if you give it to somebody who's under 20, you're for the high jump. Of course, we all know that people under 20 are smoking now, so I'm not sure what problem they're trying to solve there. So it's 4:20 on May the 2nd. Million Marijuana March, nobody's here, perfect, good health intervention. What we really want to see is people coming out in droves on election day. That'll be the day that this counts. So while I have serious concerns about the shape and form of the legislation, there will be an opportunity to put input into it. Those people who recognise, as I do, that R18 should have been the legal age consistent with alcohol may indeed represent that to the select committee that reviews it. But right now, get out there, talk about it amongst your buddies, make sure that they are enrolled to vote, and above all else, watch out for the J-Day we're going to have before the election. That'll be the day to come along and come out of your bubble. Enjoy your recreational legislation when we get it. Cheers from the Mile Greens here in Christchurch. No, it might go up on YouTube, right? Yeah.